This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Unfinished Business, Part 10. When we left off, LJ had his first assignment in Texas, following Donovan for the Queen Mother. Q was informed that he would be released from the hospital the following Monday. Angela prepared for her first meeting with the women's group on Saturday. When Saturday came, Angela showed up at the church with Melissa in tow. At the same time as the women's group meeting, children's ministry was preparing for the following Sunday's service. Youth Sunday was the next Sunday, and all of the children who were old enough and willing would be participating in service. Melissa had been asked to sign alongside another child who would be reading the morning announcements. At first, Melissa was hesitant as a shy young lady, but after discussing it with Q, who convinced her that he would love to watch service online and see her beautiful face. So now she was ecstatic to have such an important role. Angela dropped Melissa off at the church's childcare facility where children's ministry staff were practicing with the children. Then she headed to her group's meeting room. When all of the group participants were assembled, Angela began sharing her testimony. While she provided details about her life story, she focused on the lessons. How addressing family secrets, shame, and guilt can be the key to destroying the yoke of generational curses, about how important who you marry truly is, and why it's so important to allow God to choose your spouse, about the difference between trust and faith, and why our trust needs to be earned from men, but given freely to God, about the dangers of jealousy and envy, most importantly, about the importance of finding your strength, your peace, your love, your personal identity, fulfillment, and joy in God and not in earthly things. When she was finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. She told the ladies that she'd read all of their files kept by the previous women's leader, but she didn't want to rely on those files to get to know them in their personal stories and their journeys. She informed them that her availability was already uploaded on the church's website and that she wanted to meet with each of them individually, but that they needed to wait about a week so that she could handle some personal business. Q was being released from the hospital on Monday, and she wanted to get him settled and in a routine for about a week before she made herself available to the ladies, but she didn't mention that. She then told them about a coaching concept called the hero's journey. She said, in most movies, the hero of the story always goes on a journey of self-discovery, and what the hero endures along the way provides him or her with the lessons and the gifts needed to be victorious in the end. Well, art often imitates life. In our day-to-day lives, we face various calls to adventure. And in order to be the hero in our own stories, we have to face, follow, and conquer this path. Then she showed them the hero's journey diagram. Angela walked through each step, and then she said, failure to learn the lessons at any step along this journey can result in the hero having to go back a step or even starting over. She then asked each of them to think about their own lives and at least one journey, what they've learned so far, and what it might take to get them to the very next step. She informed them that this would be their focus for the next several Saturdays in group. When the meeting concluded, she enjoyed refreshments with the ladies and took time with each one, and then she walked over to Amora. She said, Michelle, using the name that Amora is going by in her new life in Dallas, I was hoping that you and I could sit down and talk today. I have about 30 minutes before I need to pick Melissa up from youth Sunday practice, and I don't know if you need to get your son, but Amora interrupted and said, first, please accept my sincere apologies for the mishap that happened with Melissa last Sunday. Something like that has never happened before. Angela said, it's fine, it's okay. I spoke with Pastor Corey and he let me know. Then Amora said, and is it possible that we can talk by phone, or I schedule an appointment with you in a week like you talked about earlier? Because I really need to get to the choir rehearsal room to help with the youth choir. It took everything in Angela not to ask Amora if her son was in the youth choir, because she didn't see him in the children's church room where the other children were practicing. But she knew her interest was purely personal, so she didn't pry. Instead, she said, "Oh, that's fine. Just go ahead on the church's website and schedule an appointment, but you don't have to wait a week like everybody else. Go ahead and select the first available appointment that works for your schedule, okay?" Amora agreed and said, "Is there an issue?" Or Angela said, "Oh, no, there's no issue. I just think that you and I need to have a conversation before we really get going in the group, okay?" Amora said, "Okay, well, can we just meet tomorrow after 11 o'clock service? I'm free then." Angela said, "Yes, that sounds perfect. I'll see you then. In my office?" Amora said, "That's fine." Then Angela hung out in the group room with the rest of the ladies until it was time to pick up Melissa. Meanwhile, LJ and Q's PI team have been following Donovan all over the DFW. After doing some research on bipolar disorder, LJ could clearly see the signs and symptoms of Donovan's diagnosis. Every day thus far, Donovan had gone to work where he vacillated between being angry and explosive and being cheery and energetic. LJ couldn't even understand how his employees could bear to work with or for him. Then, after work, he would go to a woman's house or have her come to his, where they would be together until middle of the night hours, and she would leave with her clothes disheveled, looking like they were torn off her and barely hanging on, leaving little doubt about what went on inside. On Saturday night, the PI followed Donovan to a club, where he was observed being put out less than 2 hours later, drunk as a skunk and fighting with the bouncers. Then he got behind the wheel of his car, drunk as all hell, and drove to Veronica's. This man was beating on her door like a maniac, hollering and screaming for her to let him in, and instead, she called the police. Thankfully, the PI who followed him there had the sense to call LJ, so he arrived right about when the police did. LJ was able to convince the police not to arrest Donovan. He took his keys, drove him home, and stayed with him until the morning. When Donovan had slept it off, LJ said to him, "T-Man, you really need to let your parents help you. Whatever it is you got going on is out of control. You know Veronica was recently assaulted by Travis. Why would you even put her in that kind of situation again?" Donovan said, "LJ, bro, I was drunk as hell. I don't even remember what happened last night. I just remember thinking that I needed to see her, wanting to talk to her, and wanting to feel them lips around this." LJ interrupted him and said, I thought you actually liked her. What happened?" Donovan said, "I do like her. That's why I was trying to give her this grade A St. James D." LJ said, "When you work through whatever this is that you got going on, you're going to regret mishandling her. Please don't go too far. It will break your family's heart and mine to see you end up in jail." Or Donovan interrupted him and said, "What did my family tell you? Matter of fact, what was you even doing there? Man, don't tell me you messing with Veronica too." LJ said, "Lil' bro, pull yourself together, man. Don't do that. You already know I'm not what you want. Your parents were worried about you. They asked me to keep an eye on you. And it's a good thing I did. And I showed up when I did, because you were on your way to the slammer, where you would have sat until Monday, waiting to see a judge about bail." Donovan said, "Yo, I don't need two brothers telling me what to do. I already got one holier than thou brother who Medea and Pops act like hung the damn moon." LJ asked, "Have you ever just sat down with somebody and talked through these feelings that you have? You have a family that loves you. Your brother more than most." Donovan said, "Yeah, lots of times. All they do is try to get me to talk to my family about it." LJ asked, "And have you?" Donovan said, "For what? They don't listen. All they do is take his side and defend him. They act like it's all in my head. And it's not. Yeah, I got some problems, but him, It's all part of it. LJ said, well, tell me, what is it that you feel like Q has done to you? Donovan said, it's not that he's done anything to me. It's that everything he does, everything he is, just highlights everything that's wrong with me. LJ went in Donovan's kitchen and started making him some breakfast out of the little bit of food that he had in there, sat down, and talked with him for hours.